Well, I have the distinct honor of introducing a woman that has made such an impact on my life and actually the formation of Astra, and that's Marianne Campbell, who you'll be hearing shortly. She is a magician in every sense of the word because she makes things happen. And so Marianne Campbell actually was our very first keynote speaker back in 1996 when we started Astro, not knowing that it was going to grow 17 years later into what we have today. So she is a tremendous leader for women-owned businesses, but also an expert in financial magic. And so Marianne will be joining me on the panel later. But please help me give a warm welcome to Marianne Campbell from Arkansas, who traveled the distance to be here to help you understand the magic you have at your fingertips in creating financial wealth. So give a warm welcome to Marianne Campbell.
Thank you, Diane. How many of you have ever had money burning a hole in your pocket? Well, for me and for many of you, it actually burns a hole in my pocketbook. And if I'm not very careful, that money can go up in smoke. Today, I am here to share with you tips and tricks to hopefully prevent that from happening. People ask me, Marianne, you maintain your Certified Financial Planner certificate and you have your PhD in personal finance. Why are you not selling product? And I said, well, I'm an educator and I understand education and I understand the fact that if you give a man a fish, he eats but a day. But if you teach that man to fish, you get rid of the dude on the weekend. So, I'm happy to be able to talk to you about game changers that you can profit from in the financial field. But the one thing I want you to understand is that the magic comes from you, and you can do it. The objectives today is I'm going to talk about 3 little areas of financial game changers that have affected your life and will in the future. And one is, of course, the digital revolution. The other would be regulations, government regulations, and then the trust level. We are having a difficult time. Just look at the government. They do everything backwards, don't they? They certainly don't live within their means, but or our means. Anyway, so I want to talk about trust, but the real thing that is important to me today is I want to honor your passion. You can't be a business owner without having a deep passion for the service or the product that you provide. And so it's really important, and I honor that. And it's also important to have fun, because as a business owner, you only have to work half a day, but you have to decide which 12 hours that's going to be. So, now, what do you know about March Madness in sports? What happens in March Madness? What happens when they have the basketball? Yes, and what is that called? The Final Four. And there is a women's Final Four, and who won that last year? UConn. And there is a men's Final Four, and who won that last year? Louisville. So it's really important. Well, there are 2 large financial organizations that decided we need to have a financial four. And so the last 3 years, they've been working on that, and they really promote it in March, during March Madness. And so the organizations that did it were, one is what we call NEFI, that is the National Endowment for Financial Education, and the other is the Financial Planners Association. And so last year was the 2nd year, this is the 3rd year they've done it, and they looked at what do people really do. Now on the Final Four, there are like 68 brackets. On the financial four, there are 32. They took 32 areas of your managing your money, whether it's budgeting or insurance or investing or estate planning, whatever. And they said, okay, everybody, if you're a financial planner, if you're an educator, I want you to weigh in on this and vote. So what do you think was the number one thing in the financial floor last year? The number one thing that they said would really help people be sound financially? Living within your means. Now, one reason that the book, The Millionaire Next Door, was so very, very popular is because millionaire next doors are people who have a million and more in the bank, but they don't look like it. Because what they discovered is, where the grass is greener, the water bills are higher. So, the next thing that they said was really important for you to have to be financially secure is great insurance coverage. You need to have that because it can ruin you financially. Right now on insurance, healthcare, lack of health insurance adequate is still the number one cause of bankruptcy in America. Then the third thing in the financial four was that people need an emergency fund. As you know, when people don't have that emergency fund or that cushion, that safety net, they go and use their credit card, which is at astronomical fees when you're getting cash withdrawal from that. So that can really cripple someone as well. And then this year, what's creeping up on the financial four is debt. Getting out of debt is really important, not to have bad debt. It's one thing to have good debt, like your home and education, but it's another to have bad debt. And so those are the ones, and on your handouts, which everything I'll refer to, you will have a resource there, but on that, you can actually weigh into the financial four yourself if you want to go, and you can see how it's going this year. And at the end of the year, they tally it up, and then they'll start again, and then they'll promote it in March. So that's the financial four. And I think it's very important, too, that no matter what you're doing, you maintain balance. And by that I mean, let's look first, and we have your business that takes up so much of your time, and you have your family, and those are, of course, very important to you, and you have yourself. Well, look at that. How in the world are you going to have balance? Well, the first thing you have to do is what you're doing here today. You're getting your heads together. You're getting to know what's important to you, what you value, and what's important. Then it's important to communicate with your family. Get your heads together there. And also look at your career, your business, and see what that career ladder, or that, they call it, it's a career jungle gym in today's world. But at any rate, see how that all stacks up for you. But you know what? I can see this is not enough to achieve balance just to get your heads together. You have to take that extra step. And that extra step is you have to actually pull together. Then voila, you have yourself and your family, and you have your business. And you're all together, and you are in balance. Thank you. Otherwise, someone gets the short end, someone gets the medium, and someone does get the long. Thank you. Let's talk about this digital age. Now, digital revolution is one thing that has kept me very, very passionate about what I do, because I teach millennials. I teach on a college level, and they were born at the keyboard. And so if I can't engage them and if I can't relate to them through that, then I lose them. And so it's kept me really, really excited about what I do, but it also has leveled the playing field in the financial arena as well. These apps, you know, I think the B word invented fear. I usually don't use budget because we call it a money magic plan, because people just really are afraid of that. But it is so key, and it's key to your personal life as well as to your business life. So the thing about this little budget is now the apps are available. People used to always say to me when I was counseling with them or working with them, I just don't know where I am. I just don't know what's in there. Well, today there's no excuse for this. Mint.com is a free app. It's a free software for your computer, and it really helps you know. They will send you alerts. Your bank, many banks have proprietary software to help you know where you are with their accounts. So look at what your bank is offering you. These apps are really wonderful tools. And then there are so many different phone apps, and this is one of the resources that's also in your handout. She keeps you up with what's changing, and I go to her all the time to find out what the new apps are. There's expense tracker, there's all kind of things that she'll tell you, the good and the bad. She's a very objective writer on these types of topics. Now, when you're talking about your software, I love the fact that Quicken, now I was reading just this week that 65% of people use a preparer for their taxes. And there are a lot of people where you don't need or have to do a preparer. Now, if you have a corporation, I understand, and I use a CPA myself. But the thing is that a lot of people could do it once you start with the software. It's very user-friendly now today as well. And then the same thing with estate planning. A lot of people don't do estate planning. And if it's a very simple situation, software will do. Now, what I like is, my students would be confused about what is a living will and a trust and things like this. And I said, well, the living will is actually a health directory. It's about your health and whether or not you would be on life support or not. And I said, the great thing is, and I actually take and show them a copy of my will, my living will. And it has highlighted, and I said, I use software to do it. And I've said, it's great because you can put anything in it. And mine says, please, it's highlighted right here, do not unplug me until I'm back to a size 6. It is indeed the only way I'm ever going to get there. But the thing about the software is that, like Quicken makes, they will make home and business all in one package, because a real key thing that I've worked with people in business is that you must keep your funds separated. Do not commingle your funds. And it's very easy to commingle in the beginning, but you want to have 2 credit cards, one for your business, one for personal. Keep that separate, and also keep your books separate. Make sure that's a real important thing. Now, another thing that I like about saving, today you can make it automatic. And when there were 5 siblings in my family, and when my youngest brother graduated from college, I said, Mark, you're a college graduate, how much are you saving? He said, I'm not. I said, you can. He said, I can. I said, you can. And I said, tell you what, we're going to sit down and we're going to go through and we're going to look at some mutual funds where you can automatically put have something drafted into this mutual fund, and you're not going to miss it. You're not going to go hungry. You're not going to go naked. You're going to have clothing and food. You're just not going to miss it. And he didn't. So for 4 years, he worked and he put that away. And it just happened to be a good time in the market. He would put it automatically. I said, I want you to do it regularly every month. I want you to have some other money for emergency, and then put a little toward investments, and then toward retirement. But when Mark got ready to get married, it had been 4 years, just happened to be a good time in the market, and his monthly withdrawal had actually doubled in 4 years into these mutual funds. And so he was so excited. Money Magazine put him on the cover, and that is Mark, my brother, youngest brother, I have 3, and that's his wife, Gail. And so very, very proud of him, but it's a basic. That's why they put it on. You don't have to do really amazing things. It's just the basics really do count. And then use your technology to help you do that. Another thing that I like about technology is that it has leveled the playing field when it comes to your insurance. You can really shop, and I have several insurance sites on your handout for your insurance, because that is where you can save a lot of money over your lifetime. You need insurance. Everybody needs insurance. I try to get our students to go into that field because it is the highest paid internship on our campus. Our students get $25 an hour just working in insurance offices. So I said it may be a good career for you, but you also never have to pay too much for it. So shop your insurance. And the other day I was coming out back onto campus from my office, and I saw a young man coming toward me, and he was visibly shaken. And he said, "Are you Dr. Campbell? Are you Dr. Campbell?" And I said, "Well, yes, I am." And he said, "I am just so sorry. I'm just so sorry. I didn't mean to." And I said, "What? What is it?" He said, "I hit your car." And of course, my first thought was, "You little long-haired hippie." And then I looked at him, and I looked at the car, and I looked at him, and I looked at the car. And I also thought about my teachers that had been so wonderful to me and great mentors, and my friendships with people like Diane, the twins as I call them, and Suzanne and Billy Bryant, and how we all formed this tight friendship years ago, working hard, but it all paid off for us. It was really a great thing. But I thought about people, and I said to this young man, I said, I want to tell you something. Because he was saying, he said, but Dr. Campbell, you don't understand. My parents are going to kill me. I don't have insurance. He said, and I said, settle down, settle down. I want you to turn around, get in your car and drive off. But you now owe someone else a favor. And as he backed off, this little tear was coming down his eye. And y'all, I hope he never finds out that wasn't my car. So, now then, sometimes it's not what you see that counts, it's what you don't see. And I had a mentor who helped me in magic. Her name was Frances Marshall, and she lived in Chicago. And she came in one day and she says, Marianne, this is a pretty good trick I want to show you. And she said, you see, on this side I have 1 dot, and on this side I have 4 dots, and on this side I have 3 dots, and on this side I have 6. And I thought, oh, Frances, how are you doing that? You could have 1 dot, 4 dots, 3 dots, and 6 dots. Wait a minute. She said, okay, I'm going to show you how I do this, Marianne. I'm your mentor, and I'm going to help you out. And I'm going to show you how to do this. You see, it's not always what you see that counts. Sometimes it's what you don't see. And she said, when I told you that I have 1 dot, I actually had 2. And when I told you that I had 4 dots, I actually had 5, and I could make it look like 6. But she said the real key is that you start out with a blank slate in life, and you have to decide what dots you're going to put on there. Oh, you wonder, where are the dots? They're all over here. Thank you. You know, when I first started doing magic, my friends laughed at me. So I did something about it. I got all new friends. Now, you know, I was thinking the other day, I was just up in Northwest Arkansas. They're making a sweet little movie up there called The Valley Inn. It's about the Valley Inn Cafe. And a good friend of mine's daughter is making the movie. So I went up and took the grandkids to be in a little tiny scene in that movie. And I stayed with a good friend, actually my very best friend, Carolyn, while we were up there. And I want to just share with you the way I look at good friends and best friends. First of all, value all your friends. But then there's really important to have good friends, but there's nothing like a best friend. And so here's the difference to me, in my mind. A good friend is like you're having a lot of fun. And sometimes you have too much fun. And sometimes you get in trouble. And sometimes the police says, we're going to take you down, we're going to lock you up. And so you're down there, and you're sitting, and you can call up your good friend, and you can say, I know it's 2 in the morning, but I need you to come bail me out. And that good friend will do it. But ladies and gentlemen, a best friend will be sitting right next to you in that cell saying, damn, that was fun. Let's talk a little bit about regulations. Regulations sometimes are really good, and they really help us, and sometimes they make it very difficult for us. So going through that minefield of regulations is very important. And one of the things is about retirement. You know, and we have shifted from a combined benefit to a combined contribution, so we are responsible, the majority of all of us, for our retirement money. So there are several resources to help you think about a longevity and options and where to put it that are very unbiased, and there are tremendous resources out there, particularly at financial institutions and on financial engines, and at a lot of the brokerage houses. There's some very good research, so you have to kind of look through it to make sure you're getting the objective things. And then credit has really changed, and the laws have changed as well, but I'm so glad we now get a copy of our credit report, one each year from each of the 3 bureaus. And it's a very good idea to only order one every 4 months so that you are self-monitoring your credit by watching your reports. And so that way you have a year-round coverage. And as well, you can get a free credit score. Now, Credit Karma is just right next to the gold standard of scores, which is the FICO score. But it's very light. A bunch of us have run it through to find out. And it's very, but these all are very important, not only to you personally, but to your business as well. Because usually people who manage their finances personally are going to do a good job managing them in business. It really goes hand in hand. But since your payment history is 35% of your score, the highest section, make sure that anyone that you know or you are having any problem getting those payments in on time, have that minimum automatically drafted from your bank account so that you can send in extra if you want to, but never be late again. That is the biggest ding you are going to get on your credit. And the other is using too much credit. If you have a line of credit that is $10,000, try not to use more than 5 or 6 on it so that you have that ratio that is a very healthy ratio for you. The Consumer Financial Protection Bureau is a wonderful thing that has now come to help us with payday loans and all kind of credit card issues and mortgages, and I'm thrilled about it. I hope it continues to have some teeth in it because we have not had a financial safeguard. This is great to have this and to have someone, so they also have great information on their site and they are unbiased. As well, investments are very important because Morningstar has tremendous resources that are trustable that you can find out about all your various investments. And the real thing today, because people are saying, okay, what do I do? The interest rates are really down, and where am I going to get return? What I'm going to do? We simply have to go back to the basics of saving more, of being very sure that where we save is very safe. And I have some resources about Bankrate, a couple on how to get more on your savings, but you're going to have to also keep your cost low. One reason that exchange-traded funds became so popular and are really the hot thing today is because they keep your costs down. So anywhere you can really keep your overhead down on your investments, over time it's going to make a huge impact for you. So I think it's very important to think about also diversifying. Now, when you diversify your money, of course, that's like having it in various little different baskets or pots. And I call it, let's say that you had, and I can do this right here. Can everybody see me? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and your 6 investment dollars. The first place you put your money is someplace really safe, like a savings account at a bank, or like a CD, not the groovy music kind, but even a savings bond, so that you can maintain your 1, your 2, your 3, your 4, your 5, and your 6 investment dollars. Now, the next thing you do, you might put into something still safe, like bonds. It can be U.S. savings bonds, corporate bonds. If you're in a high tax bracket, tax-free bonds. And people ask me, Marianne, do bonds really have more fun? I said, well, that depends on who matures first. You or the bond. So, what you want to maintain is your 1, your 2, your 3, your 4, your 5, and your 6 investment dollars. Now then, you've loaned your money out, and that's the safest thing. So let's go ahead and own something. Let's own some stocks. Let's own some stock mutual funds. Let's own some stock and bond mutual funds, so that you hopefully have maintained by diversifying your 1, your 2, your 3, your 4, your 5, and your 6 investment dollars. And last but not least, let's go all the way up the ladder, and let's do some collectibles, some precious metals, maybe some real estate investments, so that you have hopefully diversified and hopefully you have maintained your 1, your 2, your 3, your 4, your 5, and your 6 investment dollars. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Now, who do you trust? And this has gotten more difficult because with the lack of newspapers going down, things going online, we have less investigative reporters. We have people selling out for product placement. We have things that I've never seen before. It's very upsetting to me as a journalist as well. So I want to say, who can you trust? And these are the people that I trust. Jane Bryant Quinn has never deviated. She doesn't take money for things. She absolutely will give you an unbiased opinion. Eric Tyson does great, and a lot of the books for dummies and all of those are just great, solid outlines for good finances. They're excellent, but he will not take money from product sales either. Liz Weston is fabulous. She is very good, and her writing is very clear. All of these are on your handouts. But, and then, of course, you have Kathy Christoph here in this area. And so they're all very trustable and very good. And then as well, there are publications such as, I like anything that Consumers Union does because they don't take advertising. So The thing about something like Money Advisor, which is one of my go-to resources, and the other thing is you don't have to subscribe to this. If your library gets it, you just need your library card. And if your library doesn't have it, most public libraries will say, yes, we'll order that. We're glad. They're always looking for something that the public will use if you ask them to order that subscription. So you can just go online now and read these. And then they did a thing with 29,000 of their subscribers to find out who was satisfied with their insurance on homeowners and automobile, with USAA coming out at the top. Now, these are from their readers. This is a survey. So I always trust those sources a lot more than some others. Kiplinger is always good, but Consumer Reports put out a lot of things. The Smart Shoppers, they keep going into publication. And of course, the Good Housekeeping Seal of Approval. But all of these are great resources that you can find that you can trust. Beverly Harzog, in full disclosure, is a good friend of mine. We used to write for an umbrella company at different sites. But one reason I admire Beverly, and she can answer all your questions about credit cards, is because when she found out that some people they really had unbelievable fees and such associated with the credit cards, she no longer would write for companies who wouldn't let her do that. In other words, if they were trying to hush you or something. So she is on her own and she's doing great, and her book comes out this month, Confessions of a Credit Cardaholic. And you'll enjoy it. She's very clear, but she will answer you if you join her blog. She will answer questions about credit cards. So you have someone going to college, what's the best student credit card? You're going to take a trip, what's the best travel credit card? Because there's so many out there, it's kind of hard to know. And she will help you sift through that. But you always want to look for some trustable resources. And then other options are, I've really enjoyed Helene's book on Pound Foolish, talking about some of the side, and it's just the way things are turning in the financial, you're looking for trustable resources. And I just thought Ken Fisher's book about 10 Roads to Riches was so revealing about so many different occupations as well. But I want to ask you about your passion. Now, I told you I honor your passion, and it's very important. Now, I did have a presidential appointment, and we did go to Washington, and then I was going to testify before the House Small Business Committee. And when they called me and said, you need to be up here next week and you need to testify, it was going to be on Guy and my 20th wedding anniversary. And I said, oh no, that's our wedding anniversary. Well, the next day we got a call, and it was an amazing call, and we did not pay for this, but we were invited to spend the night at the White House. It was totally through servant leadership. And so we had two surprises in for us. The first thing, we didn't know until we arrived that we were going to be taken to the Lincoln bedroom. But the other really great surprise was that we were going to have dinner with and visit with that night until the Clintons came in later, none other than Steven Spielberg. Well, so we were having dinner, and he was saying, well, you seem like you're I said, well, he said, what are you doing? And we told him I was going to see. He had received an award over at the Pentagon, and he was just like a child. He was very nice. First of all, let me tell you, I thought, oh, a genius. Oh, he's just going to be stuck up. No, I cannot tell you. He was so nice and so grounded. He was so into his children and his family. And he had received an award at the Pentagon, and he said, I just expected it to be like one big room like Dr. Strangelove, but it was a lot of little rooms, and they had TVs on every room. And he said, and they wouldn't let me stand there. I would try it, and they say, move on, you can't look in there, you can't watch that. But he said, it was just fascinating. He collects caps, so they give him all these caps from all the services. And so he was so excited. And so then he said, well, what are you doing? I said, I'm nervous because I'm going to testify before the House Small Business, and I've never done that before. And he said, you seem very passionate about what you do. He said, I don't think you have to worry about it. Here's the thing. He said, when I made the movie E.T., he said, I so passionately wanted children. People could not believe I didn't have children. Remember E.T. phoning home and the little children in the movie? He had no children. He said, people would see that movie and said, you mean you don't have any children? He said, no. But he said, I had this passionate desire to have children. He said, and now that I have 5 between my 2 marriages and adoption, he said, I made another movie, and that was a legacy to my children. Well, since then, he's adopted another one, and they have 7. And he told us he had adopted an African-American child who was a crack baby. He said his mind is good, but he's had stunted growth. And he said, but we're going to adopt another African-American baby, so they will have their cultural things to go to together. They will be able to do the things that they would be natural for them to do. And so now I knew when I saw Lincoln this year, he was doing a legacy to those children as well. And then this is my husband, the guardian of my humility, Guy Earl Campbell, with Stephen. And this is me jumping on the Lincoln bed. You know, if you can't have fun, don't do it. So, now, I want to thank you, first of all, for your passion, for the services you deliver, for the products you deliver that change our lives, that change our families, that change our communities and our world. And it's very important that you understand that, you know, school is never out. We have to keep learning. And as I say, find one newspaper, one periodical, and, you know, the Wall Street Journal, Monies and Market is a good one to think about. And as you go through that paper, you need to digest it and determine what's going to be in it and how you can use it. I also like I said, Kiplinger's and other magazines that you would use. Oh, I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, what? Looks a lot to me like Marianne is tearing that newspaper. And that is why I like illusions, because you think you see something, but you really don't. And yet afterwards, I've had people come up and they said, let me tell you, Marianne, why I think that was a good illusion. Because I actually heard, now listen, sounds of terror. Did that sound like a sound? Yes. It's again, when you think you see something, but you really don't. And people would say, well, it was more than just a sound. Because when you were through, and when you had those in your hands, I actually thought that I saw pieces. Little pieces. Ha! That's why I like illusions. It's when you think you see something, but you really don't. But I'll tell you what you've done. You've given me your time. You've given me your attention. I thank you so very much. I feel so fortunate to be here among my good friends and new friends. And I sure hope this paper goes back together. Voila! I love it when it works. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Wasn't that fabulous? How many have some questions for Marianne? Or comments? Please stand.
Thank you. I hope I did them very well. But I learned through mentors, and I teach teachers to use illusions in their classes to teach. And I volunteer to teach at med camps children in the summer because they love the magic packs that they take home with them. We teach magic. It's a fun thing. You know, none of us have magical powers, but you do have magic in you. And that was the message I wanted to share with you today, is that you will, through this day that you're learning and expanding your mind and expanding your networks, is that you'll tap into that magic and you'll believe in it, because that's where the difference is, when you believe in yourself. So thank you so much. Yeah, another question?
So our company has a 401k we provide to our employees. What's the fiduciary responsibility for the business owner to the 401k? Because we're always required to sign, you know, a bunch of documents about it, and I'm always concerned that there may be, you know, the investments go down, somebody might be angry. You know, what do we need to look for that?
That's why I think it's really important that you share with your employees all the options for learning more about it. Whether, I mean, on the college campuses, we're having seminars all the time about, you know, how to invest and the options. But with employees, a lot of them just simply don't know they can go to human resources. They simply don't know about their options. So I think you're only going to be liable. You're not going to be liable because those go down. I think your liability is if you do not try to inform your employees of their options. They make the decisions. They are ultimately responsible. Now, it's come out that a lot of 401k plans are charging fees that were pretty invisible for a while. So that's why I like a transparency or even regulations that make them be more transparent. But there are good companies that provide good 401ks, and it's like you do everything. And when you're here today, talk to people about which 401k plans do you use and which providers, and which ones are you really happy with and why? Because that's one of the best referrals that you can get. But no, you're not going to be responsible if those go down. But keep them informed, and they're going to be more loyal employees if they know you really care about them, and because it's confusing. It is confusing, and a lot of people think a stock market has a fence around it. A lot of people don't, they don't understand the difference. Thank you.
I think we have some more questions, comments?
Marianne, in your discussion or teaching with millennials, what are you finding their attitude towards money is?
Well, I think that they live very much in the now. They're very open to change. I like that a lot about millennials. I find them seeing a lot of parents in credit card trouble. I find them seeing parents that have problems and they want to do better. And so they are, I say their attitude about money. Actually, I did my dissertation on millennials and the financial messages they received from the generational with genograms. But the older people were always saying to save, and the grandparents were always telling them to save, but the parents were struggling themselves. And so millennials pay attention. That's why I like teaching them. They want to know how to manage their money. I fortunately get these students right before they graduate. I get juniors and seniors. So they are very keen on finding out how am I going to manage this money that hopefully I'm going to make when I graduate. But I find them refreshing, very refreshing. But their attention span is like a gnat. It's just like, yeah. So that's why I do tricks in class. I mean, it's like it's the only way I can keep them. So.
Regina Monroe with Diploma. What advice would you give a growing business in relation to their IRA as opposed to funding their company?
Say that again.
Okay, so what advice would you give a growing company where they're trying to put their finances in growing the company as opposed to their IRA or 401k?
Well, I think I would possibly do both because you have to look at what's important as far as the retention of your employees. The one free lunch that is left today is if you really do receive a matching amount on your 401k. It is the only true lunch. You cannot go back and get that later. You have left free money on the table if you don't. And I tell people, take your lunch to work, do whatever you have to do, take a second job to meet the match of anything that's matched on your 401k. Do not leave that. But I think you also need to listen to your employees. What's important to them? Of course, a lot of them will say, oh, it's not that important, because if they're young employees, oh, no, I have forever, I can do that. They don't understand the magic of compound interest. If they put it in early, they could even stop later and still pass up a lot of people. So I think, again, it comes to awareness, but it comes to you listening to those employees about what's important. But it's a great employee retention item if you do provide those services, because a lot of them just don't know to do it. I think you have to grow the company first, because if you don't grow it, you can't even offer that later if you lose your company. So again, it's a commonsensical thing of balancing, well, if I want to have this for my employees, but you always have it in your plan, write out your strategic plan for your business, and then you feel better about pouring it back into the business because you know eventually you're going to have more employees, you're going to contribute more to our tax bases, and all of this, and you will do things that will retain your employees. But it's a great question. Thank you. Well, are you familiar with Kahn Academy?
Yes.
Okay.
My kids use it.
It's great. I mean, so the thing is, now we are beginning to receive programs that are out there so that we can learn, and we can also Google for a how-to. YouTube, we can Google for things that, I mean, I find it totally exciting. I really do. It's just wonderful what is out there to help us. So it's about in the aspect, that is a fabulous question, because a lot of times it's just over your head. But the other thing that I have learned, because I've been in situations where they assume I know things I do not know, and it is the best thing you do is ask questions. And if you're with that, say, please explain that. Just ask them to continue to explain it. But anyone else having suggestions for that? For that is a great question. Yes.
Yes, so WeBank has a school, an executive school program called the Top
There you go.
And the applications are actually open now, so I think August 6th is the deadline to apply.
Right.
Great.
I'm aware of those.
Okay.
But it's just this constant.
It is constant, yes. And I still have terms and things. I don't. And Investopedia, too, is an incredible website, Investopedia.com. And they have wonderful explanations for things. And so if you're meeting with your CFO and you're like, before I go there, and just look at some of the terms that are on the printouts that you're going to discuss, look it up, and just, but Investopedia.com is fabulous.
And can you spell Kahn Academy? Is it K-A-H?
K-A-H-N. Yes, K-A-H-N, yes. Fran?
I wonder if we can remind the room that you're going to be on a panel later.
I need to sit down, thank you.
In-depth questions, and
Okay.
there's more we can get from you beyond magic ropes, but
Got you. All right. I will sit down, Fran. Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay. Well, thank you. Entertaining and educational as always, Marianne. It's wonderful having you with us. And we're so delighted to have her be a part of another panel coming up here shortly.